This is Inheritance. My name is Chris Lee and my student number is S2248-17878. For this demonstration, we're going to be covering a few different concepts, namely base classes and subclasses. The idea with our base classes is that we're going to create sort of generic classes with which all of our sort of derived classes will inherit methods and attributes from. For our specific program, we're creating a zoo with a meal plan or a feeding plan for a bunch of animals that we have. So we're going to have a base class of animal, and from there we have specific types of animals. So felines, they're a specific group of animal, so they're going to inherit methods and attributes from animal, but they're also going to define some more specific attributes and methods if needed. And then we're going to have our specific animals, which is going to be tiger, which is the type of feline. We are going to use the virtual and override keywords quite a bit. The virtual keyword is used in the base class, and this is going to designate a method with which we're going to override the behavior of in our subclasses. And then in our subclasses, we're going to be using the override keyword, and we'll be using that on the methods that we're changing the behavior of. As a sort of alternate example, let's say we had a base class and it was a person, and that person had 3 methods, and they could eat, talk, and laugh. And then we had a derived class, which was a sad person, and that was derived from the base class person. And this derived class can eat and talk, but it can't laugh. In this example, we would use the virtual keyword on the laugh method because we're going to be overriding that. We can just inherit eat and talk because the behavior of those isn't going to change. We can use them as is. And then for laugh, we would use the override keyword in our subclass and define the new behavior there. In any event, we'll launch our debugger with function F11. And we'll begin by creating an instance object of the tiger class, and we will pass a number of values as parameters. In the tiger class, we can see up here that this inherits from the feline class. And then if we take a look at our constructor, we can see the name, diet, location, weight, age, color, and species parameters. They're inherited from the base, so they will inherit from the feline class. But we also have another parameter here called color stripes. So this is a new attribute that wasn't in the base class. So we'll initialize that there, but we'll do that after we go through and look at the base. The feline class inherits again from the animal with inheritance class. And in here as well, we've also got one extra parameter, so a slightly more specific one, and that is species. So we'll move up again, and we will find the animal with inheritance constructor. And in here, we can see all of these instance variables, and these were the very generic ones like we were talking about before. So we'll go and associate all the values we passed as parameters to the instance variables. We'll move back down to our derived class, our first derived class at least, and we will initialize the species. We'll go down to the very specific derived class, and we will initialize colored stripes. So now we have created our first object. We'll do the same thing with an instance object of the lion class. It's also been given a number of different values as parameters. Now, in this specific example, we don't actually have any new attributes that we're declaring here and initializing. So we are actually inheriting all of our parameters here. We move up to the feline class, which the lion inherits from. And again, that was the same as the tiger. So everything except for species is inherited. We're back up to the parent class, and we'll initialize those basic ones. The generic ones, I should say. We'll move back down to feline. We'll initialize species. Now we have our 2 objects created. Now we're going to start using some methods. So the first one is going to be for the tiger instance object, and we're going to use the sleep method. Now, we were actually using, if you note here, that was the tiger object. In the tiger class, we don't actually have a sleep method defined. So that's inherited from the base class, which was feline. And in here, we have the sleep method there. Now, like we were talking about at the start, we're using the override keyword here. So this is an inherited method from the parent class again. We're using override to define new behavior. So for this specific one, we are printing a string that says the cat sleeps for an hour. If we were to check the parent class, we would see sleep here, and all it was going to do originally was print name plus is now sleeping, so whatever the value of name was. So if we check our terminal now, we can see the cat sleeps for an hour and 45 minutes. and that actually executed from the feline class, which was the parent of tiger. Now we're going to use the eat method. So we'll go back, we'll look at the tiger class, and we have another override keyword. So this is an inherited method, and we're redefining the behavior here. We're saying I can eat 20 pounds of meat. If we check our feline class, we don't actually have a eat method defined there. So that's actually inherited from the parent of feline. And in here we have the basic eat, and that was just the value of the name instance variable plus 8, and the value of the diet instance variable. And we can see that it ate 20 pounds of meat. So we defined new behavior and it worked. That's good. We'll move down to our line instance object. And for the line instance object, we're going to call the eat method. Now in here, we have an eat method defined. This is overridden again. Feline didn't have one, so that was inherited from its parent class. Eat was there, we spoke about this just earlier. But for our specific example now, we're saying I'm on a diet and I can only eat 10 pounds of meat. And if we check the console there, we now see two different behaviors for the inherited eat methods. And we call the sleep. Now the lion class doesn't have any sleep methods defined, so that was inherited from feline. This was overridden. This is exactly what we covered before. This actually prints the very same thing to the terminal, so there was not really any new behavior there, but the same concept. Thank you.